Where does Michigan go from here? I mean,
I
I
don't
know
know.
this
That's
is
a
year
great
six.
question.
I mean, they can't get past Ohio State. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, and
you,
Michigan
you,
State, to be honest with you. I
yeah,
mean,
right. But I mean, my wife went to Michigan. I think that's an underrated rivalry because we talk a lot about Michigan, Ohio State. But first, you have to be the best team in your own state. And frankly, Michigan
that's right.
hasn't regularly done that. And that's kind of the big brother, little brother relationship. Michigan feels like they should own Michigan State, and D'Antonio didn't allow that to happen. But this year, as a 3-touchdown plus favorite, and like you said, coming off that Minnesota win, I mean, it's just I don't really know where. And you know me, I've given Harbaugh a hard time because I just think the expectations that he was going to ride in and turn into Nick Saban or Urban Meyer, and Michigan's football program was going to go to immediate playoffs and contend for Rose Bowls and everything else. And we're now in the sixth year, and it doesn't look like they're going to even be in the Big Ten championship game for a sixth straight season.
Yeah. I mean, listen, all of that is absolutely accurate. And I think that the trick in this whole conversation, Clay, lies in where the bar is set. Okay? Because we would all acknowledge, you included, and listen, you've taken shots at Harbaugh, and rightly so, whatever. Because you thought the bar is too high, because and you just said
the
it
expectations were very high. Yes,
the expectation was like Saban-esque, or
yes.
beat Ohio State, beat Urban Meyer, and yeah, you would think that was the expectation. We would all acknowledge that. The problem is that fan base sees what Ohio State is doing, and they want to be that, right? And Clay, here's the nasty truth about it. Michigan has never been Ohio State in their entire history. They might be the all-time winningest, yes, but do you know how many times they've won 12 or more games in their history?
This is a great question. I mean, not many, right? Because they didn't play 12 games for very long. Yeah. 97?
Right. 97. They went 12-0,
yeah.
won the national championship. That's a great team, right? A great team. That's the only time
they
they've
split the national championship, as Nebraska fans will remind
us.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And then Osborne retired and rode off to the sunset. Nebraska's never been the same.
That's
by
right.
the way. So, I say that because if you go back to just Urban Meyer's first year at Ohio State, they've won 12 games, I think, every year since he got there. Think about that. Right? So Michigan is not Ohio State. Bo Schembechler never won a national championship. No, again, people don't realize that, right? So I think that we thought that Michigan was going to turn into something that they've never been. The fact that he can't beat Ohio State is an insane problem. And his next biggest problem is that it looks like Ohio State is going to get even better under Ryan Day, because look how they're recruiting. Clay, I don't know if you follow the recruiting rankings, but Ohio State and Alabama right now are competing for not just the top class in next year's class, but maybe one of the best classes in all of history. Both of them are up there. Ohio State's class, even if they're second in the country behind Alabama, is going to be insanely good from a per-player ranking average. So, it doesn't seem like it's going to change anytime soon.
So what happens? How does this Jim Harbaugh-Michigan relationship end? I mean, is Harbaugh going to say, you know what, I'm fine staying there?
I was just going to say, his contract is the shortest contract right now in all of college football.
Yeah, it's up at the end of 2021, right? He's got 1 year.
That's
is that
correct.
right? Yeah.
That's right. And he was working on an extension in February. And to his credit, by the way, he pulled out of the extension talks when COVID hit, because he's like, well, this is insane. I'm not going to, do it. And by the way, that's kind of refreshing when you actually think about it.
No, I mean, credit. That's a credit to him, because he knows a lot of people are losing their jobs, and it also would look bad if suddenly he gets a $50 million extension when they're cutting all these different jobs in athletic departments all over the country, including probably Michigan.
That's exactly right. He's taken his 10% cut, all the things that optically you would need to do, and he didn't take a big extension. But where they go from here, I'm not totally sure. I don't know if they can. Now think about it. In every place that he's been, he's just coached out his contract and then kind of like mutually parted ways.
Right.
Think about that. It's kind of an interesting dichotomy when you look at it. So I could see that happening with Jim Harbaugh. It's impossible to predict the future, and I could see them extending him. I could see him leaving on his own. I could see them parting ways mutually. I could see a whole host of different things.
Do you think he wants to coach in the NFL again? Because I think it's probably fair to say he doesn't really want to coach anywhere else in college. So, I mean, if he were going to leave, he's not that old of a guy in the grand scheme of things. You would expect that he would go somewhere else in the NFL, right? I mean, if he were going to leave.
I firmly believe. Now, there's always a chance that this is wrong. I absolutely believe that this is Jim's last job that he's going to have.
In college football?
No, period.
Yo, you think he'll just ride off into the coaching sunset after that?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I have had, and probably, for Harbaugh, as deep a conversations as maybe anybody's had with him. But, he's said things, and I've asked him about, like, what do you want to do? How do you want this to end? And he said, someday, before too long, I'm just going to be driving around in an RV, and to me, that's heaven.
Really?
So I don't think that he's going to coach after Michigan.